Thank you. And now for your starting lineups. Starting for the Spirits, at guard, a freshman, number 5, Nakira Engel. At guard, senior, number 9, Cree Bass. At forward, sophomore, number 10, Tiara Lee. At guard, graduate senior, number 13, Dion Sampson. And at forward, freshman, number 14.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's broadcasting for another edition of Southern Virginia University Athletics. Tonight's USA South women's basketball matchup is between the Spirits of Salem College and your Knights of Southern Virginia University. As the lights dim here in the barn, I'm Dawson Weidrich, and tonight I'm joined by my good friend Quinn Meyer as we look to see how the Knights in the first game of tonight's doubleheader can recover after their recent devastating loss to Methodist University. But as always, great to be working with you, Quinn.
Great to be here, Dawson.
And like I just alluded to, Southern Virginia suffering their first loss since December 19th against Methodist, where they only scored 38 points, really struggled to get points of any kind in both the first and fourth quarter, which led to their loss that broke a 12-game winning streak and gave them their first conference loss of the year. But Quinn, you and I were talking before this game began, before we went live, that sometimes that's exactly what a winning team needs.
It is, and you know, we talked about how, you know, it's been over a month since they last lost, but also through conference play, it seemed like they kind of breezed through most of their games, because the last time they played Methodist when they won their opening matchup of the season series was, you know, within the first few games of the season.
Yeah.
So since then, at least in regards to conference play, things have been kind of easy for the Knights, and so it's pretty nice, at least for them to have a wake-up call, you could say, because things seem to be a little sloppy in the last few games of that winning streak, so maybe that's the wake-up call they needed to get things going again before postseason play.
Absolutely. It seemed like a lot of things came a little too easy at times, because there is a big disparity in the USA South Conference right now. There's a lot of inconsistency, and then there's a couple of teams that stand above the rest. And so going from some of those teams, playing those teams that maybe have, you know, younger athletes or newer coaching systems and aren't quite up to the higher level of the USA South yet, and then all of a sudden you're playing teams like Methodist who have their stuff together and are really competitive. And for Salem College, they're coming in here. They started the season 5-0 and have 2 losing streaks, 1 of 5 games and 1 of 8. They just recently picked up win number 8 on the year against Mary Baldwin, an 8-point victory over the Fighting Squirrels. And you know, we look at the starting lineups for both these teams right now. For the Spirits of Salem College, you have Nakira Engel, number 5, as the Spirits win the tip-off. You have number 9, Cree Bass, number 10, Tiara Lee, 13, Dion Sampson, trying to feed it inside. And then number 14, Lily Gorham, rounds out the starters for the Spirits. Savoon got in there, knocked it free. The Spirits still have possession, 10 seconds on the shot clock. They're gonna put up a 3, and that's gonna be way short, and recovered by Abby Snyder.
And despite Salem's struggles as of late, they are able to come off a win, as you said, Dawson, their first in quite a while. And they're also missing one of their leading scorers and most efficient shooter from the field, Alize Munn. And so you got to think they have a little bit of confidence coming off that win and playing together without one of their leaders.
Absolutely, and we just saw the Knights pull off a play they've done several times this year, where you have the post running the floor and you get a ball advanced up ahead and she gets an easy layup. That jump shot off the back of the rim, no good, rebounded by Snyder. Advanced yet again, this time to Savin. Once again, fed to Asia Foster. The Knights get a quick 4-0 lead. Asia Foster, without her dynamic partner she usually has in the starting lineup, and Ruth Kempler, who is left out of the starting lineup tonight. That's a deep 3 off the side of the rim, no good. Rebounded once again by Snyder. Fed ahead to Norton. Cam Norton for 3. That's short, rebounded by Heggie. Heggie up ahead, and good for 2.
And Heggie was inserted into the starting lineup, I believe, for the first time this season. As you mentioned, Dawson, there were some changes in the starting lineup following that tough loss against Methodist. So it just shows that the coaches, you know, you're never satisfied with anything. You want to change things up, try and improve in any way you can, and it's a good start for the Knights so far.
Absolutely. You mentioned the different starters. You got Camilla Norton. You got Maria Seven, who's a consistent starter for Southern Virginia, has been for the past couple of years. Presley Heggie, you just mentioned. Abby Snyder, leading scorer for the Knights, no surprise there. And then Asia Foster is the one down low. And like you just alluded to, sometimes as a coach, when you have a team that loses a game as they did against Methodist, you kind of shake things up. But also sometimes you kind of approach it like, who needs to kind of, you know, have some time to think or whatever the case may be. We don't have years in the locker room or anything like that, but there's different ways to approach a starting lineup after a loss like that. But right now, starting off really well with a 6-0 lead, the Knights doing a great job at forcing the ball down the floor, making it to where Salem College can't really get set defensively, and then pass it inside. Of course, you had that rebound from Heggie, and she took a good power dribble and up with the right hand and in. And Southern Virginia starting off very well defensively against a Salem College team that oftentimes struggles getting the ball in the basket. Field goal percentage of 36.3 on the year. Three-point percentage of 26.1.
And I like how the Knights, they've been getting to their offense pretty quickly. We noticed there was a lack of shots in their game against Methodist, which ultimately led to, you know, only scoring 38 points. You know, people like Asia Foster, Ruth Kempler only attempted, you know, 3, 4, or 5 field goals in the game. So it's really important that they get things going quickly so there's not much hesitation or, you know, maybe lack of confidence in your shot going into this game.
And a great point to emphasize the lack of shot attempts for Southern Virginia in that game in the first quarter, as there's a scramble on the floor, recovered by Snyder and advance to Heggie. Savlin trying to feed it inside to Foster. Kick out to Norton. Knights setting their offense. Savlin driving in, up with the left hand off the glass. No good. Rebounded by Savlin. Norton for three. That's just short. Rebounded by Heggie. So Snyder's going to reset. Already we're seeing the Knights are dominating rebounding game so far. Shot clock winding down. Snyder step back jumper. That's up and good for Snyder.
And they're dominating rebounding despite going with a little bit of a smaller lineup with the absence of Ruth Kempler. But you can see Presley Heggie, who's inserted for her, you know, having a pretty dominant start down low, even though she's, you know, can drift up top and play more of a shooting role in the Knights' offense, but a good start for her and the rest of the Knights.
Yeah, Heggie is arguably, alongside Allie Weiland, one of the most versatile players on the Knights roster. Like you mentioned, being able to go outside, shoot from deep, then go down low and fight for rebounds. One of those players that coaches just love to have, to where if you have someone in foul trouble, you can just say, all right, Heggie, you go on in. Free throw attempt, good that time for number 5, that is Nikera Engel, freshman guard from Charlotte, North Carolina. First points for the Spirits. Second free throw just short. And fought for between Asia Foster and Abby Snyder, not realizing they were both going for it at the same time. So it goes out of bounds and stays with Salem College.
And a player to keep an eye on for the Spirits, coming off a pretty dominant performance, scoring 24 points in their win against Mary Baldwin, is Deion Sampson. She's a graduate. We're number 13 for the Spirits.
Shot up, no good. And again, an attempted recovery before going out of bounds, as Snyder touching it before it goes out of bounds. So the Spirits getting a couple second chances here on this possession. Inbound under the basket. Triple team and taken away by Foster and Norton. Snyder weaving through the defense. Well guarded by number 13, Deion Sampson, who you just mentioned, Quinn. 7 for 3. And that's good. And that takes us to another point. We talked about shot attempts for Southern Virginia, but even worse than that was the shooting percentage, both three-point and field goal percentage in the 20s against Methodist. And so seeing their shooting well here so far is a good thing to see. Got a foul called on Sabun.
And what really killed him was that first and fourth quarter we saw. I think it was 5 points in the first quarter and maybe 7 or 8 in the fourth quarter.
I believe it was 8, yeah.
So that ultimately was the reason they fell. But again, yeah, you know, value ball possession, get as many possessions as you can by dominating the boards on the offensive glass, forcing turnovers, and that'll lead to a really good outcome for the Knights tonight.
That free throw is good for Sampson. You mentioned the graduate senior guard from Burlington, North Carolina. And that second free throw is good. A little fan interaction here in the barn early on. Seven advancing it to Weiland, who just subbed in.
Yep.
Norton for three. Off the front of the rim. She struggled to knock one down so far. She's had 3 attempts. Savin trying to save it from going out of bounds, and so it'll go to the Spirits.
Yeah, and funny enough, Cam Norton was the one that was able to hit a couple of shots in that game against Methodist, shooting 2 for 4 from 3, and she's the one struggling out of the gate, but surely she'll be able to get that straightened out here, and she gets comfortable as the game goes on.
And she's one of those players that she has such a good shot that even if she goes a little bit of a cold streak, coaches are going to tell her, keep shooting.
Oh, yeah.
If you got an open shot like she just had, you take it. A scramble down low, basically a rugby scrum for the ball. Mid-range jumper up off the back of the rim, no good. Eventually recovered by Savin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Seeing a little bit of full court pressure from the Spirits. And advanced ahead to Savin, missed layup though.
But the best shooters in the world, they might shoot 2 for 15 one night, but their coaches are going to tell them to keep shooting. There's a really nice runner there.
Indeed, a great take to the basket by Sampson.
A bit of a miscommunication there by the Spirits on their full court press. See if the Knights can take advantage.
Snyder trying to draw a foul, and she does on the shot. She'll go to the line and shoot 2. I do like the adjustment we have seen from Salem College. And after the timeout we saw a little bit ago, they upped the ante pressure-wise. They realized we have to play with more energy. We have to make sure that we force them to take their time getting down the floor, because we mentioned them just being able to pass it down the floor willy-nilly was killing them. And we see Ruth Kempler checking in along with Emma Camden for Southern Virginia. And eventually we will see Addie Newman check in. She will come in for Abby Snyder once she's done shooting, and some substitutions for Salem College as well.
And that's one thing I noticed, that in our women's games, most teams that come into the barn here don't really deploy that full court defense.
Right.
That up pressure tempo against the Knights, which I feel has worked in some cases. The last game we announced, I think, was against Greensboro, and they started to use that towards the end of the game, and it worked a little bit, at least defensively. But it'll be interesting to see how they go about that the rest of this one.
Second free throw for Snyder is good, and she'll be subbed out in favor of Addie Newman. And you bring up an interesting point. The Knights have really emphasized the idea of playing fast, getting down the floor fast. Like I mentioned before, just making it to where the defense can't really recover.
Exactly.
So when you're a team that is used to going that fast, and all of a sudden the defense forces you to slow down and be calculated, it tends to make you a little bit frustrated.
Exactly.
You have to slow down how you see the floor, and that's a great drive there by number 9, Cree Bass, not able to knock down the floater. And stepping out of bounds before able to keep it in was Christina Battistini, sophomore forward from Cesena, Italy. Savin able to break some of the pressure here. Weiland driving in, spinning, kicking out to the corner to Savin for 3. Off the front of the rim, no good. Eventually rebounded by the Spirits and number 2, Alaya Korpening.
You see, and that was a little bit of a better possession or good look for the Knights, because Savin was able to run quickly down the court and penetrate and give Allie Weiland a little bit more of an open look and create some space for their offense, because the Spirits didn't go with their full court press.
And Kempler able to be disruptive, and
Nice
Savin
pass.
wide open, able to knock it down. Like you just said, fantastic pass. You had both Savin and Kempler down the floor, so pick your poison, honestly. Step back jumper for Bass. Back of the rim, no good. Rebounded by Weiland. Here's Newman on the outside. Back to Weiland. Mid-range jumper. That's up and good with the screen assist, I'll call it, from Kempler. Now an 11-point lead for the Knights. Savin a little too tempted to reach in. She's gotten her hand on the ball a couple of times so far in the early going. Some substitutions. We got Taylor Miyazaki for Southern Virginia and a whole platoon swap for the Spirits. You got number 20, Isabella Childs. You also got number 5, Nikera Engel coming back on the floor, as well as number 13, Dion Sampson. And number 10, Tiara Lee. So several starters making their way back on the floor, and that floater is no good. Newman fighting for that one against Sampson. And they're going to call a foul on Sampson, so it'll go to the Knights.
And Addie Newman, another player we talked about throughout the season, is, you know, still working back into things after that hamstring injury. You know, played a little bit more than she typically did in that game against Methodist, but again, didn't attempt a shot. You know, tough to score if you can't get those shots. That's a good look there, but good defense.
Indeed, it's a good cut to the basket. Here's Weiland for 3. That's up and good for Weiland. Weiland, again, we've talked about her a lot in these broadcasts, where she'll have games where she just absolutely goes off, whether it be shooting the ball, or she even had one game where I feel like she had 4 assists in the span of 30 seconds. It probably was a little longer than that, but wide open is Camden.
What a look.
Flying down the floor, up and in. No one in sight.
Speaking of playmaking.
Seriously, I mean, the Knights, you know, there's a term that you use in background basketball called cherry picking, where you have someone just sprint down the floor past the defense and you're wide open. The Knights have done a good job of taking advantage of that because they know, rebounding-wise, they have the absolute advantage. And if you want to talk about recovering after a tough loss where you play some of your worst basketball all year, this is how you do it. You respond in this way, where you're shooting well, you're playing with energy, and making it down the floor for wide open layups like that.
And you got to believe, you know, Coach Schroeder's telling her ladies, you know, don't take your foot off the gas pedal, you know, trying to recover after a pretty tough loss, or that can really, you know, damage your confidence heading into the postseason against your chief competition. So I'm sure they're talking to each other in the timeout to, you know, let's keep this going and get as much confidence back as we can.
Absolutely. And with this time, I want to give a shout out to our athletic partners of Southern Virginia Athletics, that being River Crossing Apartments, Straws, Drinks and Eats, Mill Creek Orthodontics, Cornerstone Bank, Papa John's, locally owned and operated, Vinyl Cuts, Katana Sushi and Hibachi Express, The Beef, Sweet Souvenirs, and Grace Automotive, all local businesses here in Buena Vista, Virginia. Thank you so much for your support of Southern Virginia Athletics. We appreciate you. And so we talked about, you know, the low-scoring effort that the Southern Virginia Knights had against Methodist. They ended up with 38 points in that game. They have 21 in this first quarter.
They do.
Could easily beat that within a quarter and a half of this game.
Very well could. And, you know, you mentioned Dawson before the game. They've had several games this year on the road where they scored 90-plus points. It'll be nice to see them put up some kind of offensive performance like that here at the barn finally.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the game before they lost to Methodist, they had another 92-point performance on the road. And just like you point out, as that jumper is up, no good. It's going to go out of bounds. They're going to say that it was tipped. I believe even Weiland was yelling that it was tipped and to recover it from going out of bounds. But, you know, I've expressed this good type of frustration with you, Quinn. It's like, please, just score 90-plus at home. We would love to see it. We'd love it to be on this broadcast. That'd be great, but they got to take care of business first before we can even think about that. That pass to Sampson. Newman diving on the floor for it, and a jump ball. It'll go to Southern Virginia. Another thing, too, is that the Knights are showing a lot of hustle and a lot of energy.
They are.
They're diving on the floor for loose balls. You know, they're running down the floor for open layups. And again, we talked about how a loss can be good for you after a winning streak. It kind of sparks something underneath you, because losing is not a fun thing. And so once you experience that, you don't want it to happen again. Kempler able to wind through the defense. The shot just a bit short, so it'll go back to the Spirits. Trying to put up a shot with the left hand, and is fouled on the way up by Newman. That'll be her first.
Another thing, talking about those outlet passes, we just saw one a couple of minutes ago by Allie Weiland. And to your point, Dawson, the Knights are such a dominant rebounding team, at least against in-conference competition. They can look for that, but also, when the opposition's trying to compensate for that and get more people into the paint for those rebounds, it does open up that opportunity to, fly the zone, for lack of a better words, and free up someone down the court for those easy buckets.
That's a very good point. Those 2 free throws knocked down by Childs, and she'll be subbed out in favor of Lily Gorham. Brings it within 14 with Knights having the possession here. Under 2 minutes to go in this first quarter in what has been all Southern Virginia. Miyazaki, a quick 3 release. That one's short. Tipped by Kempler, but rebounded by Sampson. Sampson stopped by Newman. Camden tips it. Got the whole floor in front of her. Able to knock down the layup. Turning good defense into easy offense, as we always like to say.
And we mentioned that Emma Camden can be hot and cold offensively, but this year she's really stepped up and been pretty consistent from the field. Really good at finishing this season. She's improved that part of her game a lot.
She absolutely has. That pass going out of bounds, and so a turnover for the Spirits. Got another substitution in number 2, Alaya Korpening. She will sub in for Nikera Engel.
And one thing that Salem certainly does not lack is depth.
Yeah.
There's 9 different starters they've used on their roster, and as you can see, have made plenty of substitutions. So down the stretch, they should have plenty of fuel left in those legs to keep up with the Knights. It's just a matter of staying within reach.
Absolutely. I want to make a correction. It's Nikera Engel. I want to make sure I correct that pronunciation. Feed inside to Newman. Good pass out to Camden for 3. That's long. Rebounded by Miyazaki. Now Weiland driving in.
Nice pass.
Kempler going up. Gets fouled on the way up, and she'll go to the free throw line. That foul is called on Christina Battistini. Or Battistini, excuse me.
Kempler to the line, shooting 2.
You can tell Allie Weiland really has that, really quality basketball IQ, because not only is, being a good passer, being able to get the ball to where it needs to go, but you got to be able to see things developing.
Absolutely.
You have to know your sets properly, and, you got to know your teammates as well, have good chemistry. And you can tell that, she's done her homework and she has all those qualities in her, make her a good playmaker.
And that great anticipation, like you said, feed to the baseline. The floater up, no good, rebounded by Weiland. Once again, advanced ahead to Camden. Going up strong, up and in. Miyazaki hits the floor. 2 for Camden. 10 seconds in the quarter. Sampson and the Spirits looking for a last-second shot in the quarter. Put up a floater, and that's going to go down.
Good finish.
And that's going to end the quarter. The Knights in dominant fashion, leading 25-9 over the Spirits of Salem College. And again, like we pointed out before, it just really seemed like the Knights felt like they had something to prove both to their fans and to themselves after that loss to Methodist University, and they've definitely done so. Of course, the job is not done yet. You got another 3 quarters to go as we see the starters checking back in for Southern Virginia. Looking to see them continue to advance the ball down the floor. We saw Coach Cherie Boyd, her in her second year coaching the Spirits of Salem College, showing a bit of frustration after that last layup by Emma Camden, basically emphasizing, just saying, hey, we got to get back on defense. We cannot let people just sneak out and get wide open layups like this. That one was a bit more contested than the other 2 that Camden has had, but regardless, she was able to get in that position in the first place. So we'll see if Salem College can adjust to that in the second quarter. Real quick, want to remind you, you're watching this on Night Broadcasting here on YouTube. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know your highlight of the game so far and how we can improve this viewing presentation of Southern Virginia athletics. We appreciate your support of Knights Broadcasting.
Yeah, and to your point, Dawson, I mean, if you let someone get behind you for those easy layups, your full court press is worthless, basically.
Yeah.
There's no point to it. And so, yeah, the back line's really got to be aware of who's going to fly behind them and look for those easy buckets.
Like either way, one of the two parts of the defense has to work harder, right? Either the backs work hard at making sure players can't get behind them, or the front part of the defense has to make it to where it's just impossible to get a pass off at all. And driving in, and that floater is good for Korpening.
A couple of really nice finishes for Korpening in the last couple of minutes.
The Spirits love those floaters in the paint. Knights doing a great job of moving the ball. Shot clock now at 10. Shot clock winding down here. Snyder for three. That's a little long. Chased down by Norton. She's going to try to save it, but step out of bounds. A much better defensive stand for the Spirits than we have seen throughout the entirety of the first quarter. Sampson driving in wide open lane off the glass and in. There was no one backside to help Savin. Advanced ahead to Heggie.
Yeah, Spirits look to keep their guards outside so no one collapsed in on Sampson at the end there. Nice play.
Trying to feed it down low to Heggie. And Foster passed it over the wrong shoulder out of bounds. Heggie was thinking of going towards the basket as there was no defender between her and the basket.
And it's a good job by the Spirits there defensively, moving their feet, keeping their hands up, not biting on any of those fakes.
Another inside look, that time knocked down by Cree Bass. Bass, the senior guard from Maiden, North Carolina. So a strong start to the second quarter for the Spirits. Seeing a little bit of life in them. Norton for three. That no good, rebounded and recovered by Savoon. Norton, a deeper three, and that's good.
Yeah, you got to think eventually it's going to fall, so keep shooting it and it'll work out.
Absolutely, that is definitely the idea here. Got a whole new 5 coming in for Southern Virginia here at the scores table. A good handoff. And a block by Foster. Like I said, a good handoff for the Spirits. Just Foster was just too much there. Heggie trying to rebound that one. That was too strong. Trying to push it ahead. Norton able to save it and get it to Foster. So now the Knights may have numbers here. Snyder for three. That one too strong. Foster able to rebound it. Snyder going inside. Kick out to Norton again for three. That one too strong.
Another offensive rebound.
Indeed, the Knights able to get a lot of good looks here. Snyder driving baseline, trying to reverse layup. That one no good. Rebounded by Lily Gorham. Snyder a little too under the basket for that shot. Just losing track of where she was on the floor. Another floater, that time no good. And a quick timeout called by head coach Lynette Schroeder of Southern Virginia on the hustle play by Snyder. And like I mentioned before, the Knights will have a whole new 5 coming onto the floor. And Miyazaki, Newman, Camden, Weiland, and Kempler. So quickly getting their starters off the floor here in this second quarter.
Well, and you know, that second unit played, you know, probably better than the first at the end of the first quarter there. So, you know, they'll look to get a boost from them as Salem made a pretty nice run at the start of this quarter to get things, you know, a lot closer within 10 points. So some good defensive stands led to a couple of nice runners for the Spirits to get them back in it.
And one thing that we're seeing is that the guards for the Spirits, all of them are doing a similar move, a hesitation move. And so the entire defense shifts when they fake one way. And so when they go back down the baseline, it's completely open to knock down a floater if they can make it. But you mentioned how the second unit for Southern Virginia did so well in that first quarter. Their leading scorer right now is Emma Camden, who, surprise, surprise, is in that second unit, along with Alyssa Weiland, who's tied for second in scoring on the floor with 5 points to her name. And so, like you said, maybe a wise decision here going with the unit that's been a little bit more effective, at least in the past couple of minutes, and maybe talk some things over with your starters, see what else you can do to advance the ball down the floor or get a little bit more of a smooth offense going. But here's the Knights with the ball.
Well, one play offensively that they ran a couple of times with Ruth Kempler in the first quarter was, you know, she would set a screen there on the baseline and free her teammate up for an open shot, using her size to where the defender cannot get around her in time. So I'd like to see them go back to that. It was pretty successful the 2 or 3 times they ran it.
Definitely would love to see that. That pass from Weiland sailing out of bounds. I think she lost track of where Newman was. Thought she was more in the corner rather than at the top of the key. Here's Sampson working against Newman. Step back jumper, that's up off the glass. No good, rebounded by Kempler. Here's Weiland with it. Good ball movement. Here's Miyazaki for 3. That's short, no good. Newman trying to go back up with it, trying to recover from going out of bounds. It'll go back to the Spirits. So 6.5 to go in this first half.
And you could hear one of the officials tell Coach Schroeder as he's running by for Miyazaki to watch those bunny hops. As you know, we've noted plenty of times that the officials are really looking for that in NCAA this year, at least at the Division III level.
And a substitution for the Spirits in number 11. Once again, Christina Battistini. And again, to your point, we've talked about that a lot. And Miyazaki came very close that time. I was surprised it wasn't called on her shot.
They've called, you know, ones that weren't as bad as that for sure.
Good defense. Indeed. And a foul is called on the Spirits. That is on Sampson. She basically was moving screen and she is still on the floor in clear, visible pain. And so they're going to give her some space on the floor as the trainers go and attend to her. Again, Sampson being an integral part of this team for the Spirits. And, you know, Miyazaki was trying to fight through a body screen at that point. Got a little too physical in that situation, and at that point they decided that Sampson's feet were moving. Sampson's getting helped to her feet and able to stand up. From what we could tell, it just seemed like she really got the wind knocked out of her on that one.
Yeah.
Which is never fun. Anyone out there who's played a sport where you get the wind knocked out of you,
Pretty terrible feeling.
It really is. I mean, when you can't breathe, that's not a fun thing.
Yeah.
But glad to see Sampson being able to walk off the floor under her own power.
Yeah, hopefully she'll be able to get back in the game. Hopefully soon.
Absolutely. Love seeing the action she has had so far here tonight, but it'll go to the Knights now with 6 minutes left in this first half. Passing it to the other side to Weiland. Feeding it inside to Kempler, who's quickly double-teamed, trying to pass it down low to Newman, and it's going to sail out of bounds. Another pass from the Knights sailing out of bounds. It seemed like their offense is just a little out of sorts.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just out of position in their sets right now, or, you know, they're just not reading their teammates well enough. But yeah, that's the 3rd or 4th pass in the last 6 minutes of playing time that's been errant.
This is Korpening. Feeds it inside, and a block by Kempler, able to recover it and taken quickly away, and then once again recovered by Southern Virginia. Passing it ahead to Weiland. Hesitation, up with the right hand, up and in. Fake the pass to Camden. Great move there from Weiland. Weiland now with 7 in the game. She leads both teams. Once again, it is tipped. Diving for it is Miyazaki. It's going to go out of bounds, but it'll go to the Knights. And we saw Noel get basically slammed to the scores table here right in front of us. It's getting pretty physical the past couple minutes. And we see another substitution for the Knights, number 13, Lily Kentner. And due to the physicality, I would not be surprised if we start seeing a little bit of a crackdown on physicality by the refs, maybe a little more fouls to make sure that they can manage the game. And a quick turnover again for Southern Virginia.
Yeah, because you know the Knights, in order to kind of get back in the groove of things, get some confidence back, they're going to be jumping for those loose balls, and you know, certainly Salem's going to have to respond at some point.
Kick out to the top of the key, a deep 3. That's going to be short and rebounded by Weiland.
Yeah, Salem might have to make some adjustments offensively since they're missing their 2 top scorers now that Sampson's out. Nice jumper there from Miyazaki.
Miyazaki taking a mid-range jumper there. Like you said, a great shot. So far in this quarter, you compare the first quarter of 25 points for Southern Virginia right now sitting at 7 points in the quarter. And takeaway and block when Miyazaki advancing it down the floor to Camden. Once again, wide open down the floor, up and in. Great work there by Camden, once again getting down the floor. Camden now with 8 points in the game, and she now takes the lead in scoring. Kentner on ball defense. Trying to feed
Nice
it down
pass.
low. Indeed, a good pick and roll there. That shot just not going to fall for Childs. That time rebounded by Kempler. Passed ahead to Weiland.
And yeah, bodies are flying around the court right now.
And Weiland driving in up with the right hand. Like you said, people are falling over the place, diving for the ball or just due to contact. Again, it's been an aggressive quarter. Driving in, good moves, and swatted away by Kempler, but there's a foul called. And that is called on Kentner, but Kempler had the swat right there. And in Weiland's place will come in Haley Page.
Yeah,
Another substitution for Miyazaki is Cassia Conquo.
Yeah, if you're trying to make some space and, you know, get through the Knights' defense, if you don't have things spread out and allow the Knights to kind of collapse on you defensively, you're not going to make it through, you know, either Ruth Kempler or Asia Foster. So
That's a very good point. First free throw was good, and second is good for Engel.
So you just got to hope for drawing the foul there, which she did to her credit.
Indeed, she did. And another substitution, number 22, Triana Smallwood, freshman guard from Allender, North Carolina. The Knights facing some full court defense here. Kentner facing some contact and trying to advance it ahead, and it's knocked out of bounds. They're going to say it's off the Knights. And there was a bit of extra contact that normally in a game of basketball you would see a whistle blown somewhere, but the refs, again, letting them play.
Yeah. There's that full court press we talked about, you know, getting to the ball handler early to prevent any of those outlet passes that the Knights have, you know, thrived off of in this first half.
Nice defensive wall basically going up to defend that shot. Kentner with the rebound and advancing it down the floor. Camden, nice pass inside to Page, off the glass, no good, rebounded by Gorham. Open mid-range jumper, that's up and good for the Spirits. Camden advances ahead to Page. Page has an opening, feeds it down low to Kempler. Great pass and up and in for Kempler. Page gets up a little gingerly on that play. Had a lot of contact before hitting the ground hard. Handoff here, Conquo defending. Shot clock now at 10. There's Corpening driving in, puts up a shot, but a whistle's blown before the shot. And the foul's called on Camden. So it'll stay with the Spirits, and another substitution for the Spirits in Anaya Noel.
And talk about going full throttle, though. I mean, you know, the Spirits are really just putting a shoulder down and going to the basket. You're not afraid to get those highly contested shots up, and, you know, it's been working. You know, they're hanging in there against the Knights team that's obviously highly motivated and playing pretty well for themselves on both ends.
Another foul called, that time on Kentner. I believe they're going to say she got tangled up with, I believe, Corpening. But kind of to your point of them just lowering the shoulder and driving to the basket, I mean, when the refs are letting you play like they have been, you got to take full advantage, right? Especially when it's working for you. Shot clock down at 10 once again, and that
Wow.
circus shot from Engel
I
over
don't know
the.
how she got that out.
I really don't know either. Engel able to knock it down though on Page, facing
And
a
4
quadruple
on
team.
this side of the court.
Snyder knocked to the ground after getting it to Camden. A Concours for three off the back of the rim. Recovered by Camden. Snyder did a great job of hustling to it to help out. Kempler, pump fake, going in, up with the right hand, off the glass with the foul. She'll go to the line and shoot one. It just feels like a more aggressive basketball game here tonight than usual.
You could see 4 Spirits on this end of the court, you know, all against just 2 Knights. So they're not afraid to be this aggressive, and that's a big bucket, not to get just to get points on the board for Ruth Kempler, but you know, to show the Spirits, you know, we're not backing down, and we're gonna, you know, fight for these points and be okay with it.
Here's the N1 free throw off the back of the rim, no good. And you know, to your point, you have 4 defenders here on this side when the Knights have done a good job of sprinting down court and getting open shots. This is kind of an interesting thing to see, considering what Southern Virginia's been able to do to them.
You see the Spirits have gone with their smaller and more athletic lineup for the purpose of applying that pressure and getting on the court quickly.
5 seconds on the shot clock. Have to put up a shot, and they do. Off the back of the rim, no good. Recovered by Camden. Immediately double teamed and fouled. That foul's called on Nikira Engel.
Engel, just a freshman from Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, she's provided some really solid minutes, especially during that time when Sampson was off the floor after getting the wind knocked out of her.
And another substitution for the Knights, this time number 20, Anna Clater, seeing her first minutes of the game. So 38 seconds left in the half. Knights up by 19. About 15 seconds separate the shot and game clock. Trying to feed it inside to Camden, taken away by the Spirits. There's no shot clock.
Nice pass. That might have been a travel.
Yeah, the entire crowd thought so.
Got bailed out by one there.
12 seconds left in the half. And a floater once again, no good. Rebounded by Camden. Trying to advance it ahead to Snyder. Here's Page with it. Gets fouled on the ground. So now 2.9 seconds left in the half. So now you're going to inbound it and going to have to put up a quick shot. So I'd imagine a double screen situation for either Snyder or maybe even Camden, who's had the hot hand so far, mostly with layups. They're going to get into Page,
nice
actually.
feed.
And fouled once again on the floor. It is on Corpening. And so Haley Page will shoot 2 free throws here with 1 point, or a second and a half rather, in the half. Here's the first free throw, is in and out. Snyder laughing with her a little bit, saying it was basically in, so just do the same thing. Second free throw's up and just short. Rebounded by Snyder, trying to put up a shot, no good. And so going to the half with the Knights leading 40-21. They had a dominant first quarter, 25-9. That second quarter, the Spirits kept it a lot closer. The deficit in that quarter being just 3 points. And again, Southern Virginia doing a great job of just coming in here with a fire underneath them, doing a great job of just responding to the struggles they had against Methodist. And just looking at some of the statistical leaders right now for the Knights, you have Allie Weiland with 9 points, Emma Camden with 8, Savin with 5, and Foster with 4. She had quick 4 points in the early goings in that first quarter. And rebounding-wise, Snyder with 6 and Weiland at 5, Camden at 4 and Savin with 3. And assists, Weiland with 3 and Savoon and Miyazaki both with 2 in the first half. So again, Knights just doing a great job at executing, and even when things got a little sloppy and aggressive, still finding ways to make things happen.
Exactly, and that's, you know, one of the reasons why I think this has been a really nice bounce back game for the Knights, not only with regards to their play, but also the competition. You know, they had a hot start, but you also don't want an opponent that, you know, kind of just lays down and lets you run away with it. You know, Salem, they're fighting back. And, you know, not making it easy, especially in the second quarter there for the Knights to, you know, run their sets, and really didn't give them any space on either side of the ball. So a really nice and exciting first half for both squads.
Absolutely, and with that, we'll hand it over to Southern Virginia's dance team here in the barn for some halftime festivities. Don't go away.
begin in 3, 2, 1.
Soldier boy, tell 'em.
The dance flow silly, the ladies gon' feel me. The fellas in the back, and they twisting up a Philly. Get silly, 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 get silly. My chain too silly, okay. My wrist too silly. Okay. The girls throw me fish, cause my rims big willy. Okay. My ride too silly, okay. I ride too silly. Okay. With four fantastic, yeah. Cause I got a dilly. Cause now I'm worth a million. Okay. Forget a rubber band, cause you can't put a rubber band around a million. I bop, bop, bop. I'm the man, girlfriend. I'm the reason why you wanna lose your man, girlfriend. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
Dog exclusive.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
You wanna know what we say in the club? Hey, baby. White folks, gangsters, and the thug. Hey, baby. Stunning with a stack of them drugs. Hey, baby. Riding in the lack with a mug. Hey, baby. I'm in the club hollering. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. I'm in the club hollering. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. I'm in the club hollering.
Give a big round of applause for your dance team. For the second half of our halftime entertainment tonight, it is proudly brought to you by the Southern Virginia University Men's Choir. They got the pipes, let's see if they got the hoops. We'll be playing a quick game of knockout. I assume we all know what that is. I don't want to explain the rules. Y'all hear my voice enough already, so someone just get Jimbo out, please. That's my only request. 3, 2, 1, go! A little heated. Hey, Tyler, where the music at? Let's go, Benny. Whoa! Dang, we're gonna be here all night. Never mind. Isaac is out. I didn't realize he was wearing a boot. Maybe we should give him a second chance. Let's go, Benny, get him out. Ooh, tough luck, Benny. Ooh, Devin. On to our two finalists. Come on, Devin. You know, even with the jackets on, they're doing pretty good. You know, I was Devin's district leader on the mission, so I taught him pretty well. Oh! How about y'all? I am loving this. This is halftime entertainment right here. And that's the game. Thank you, gentlemen. Congratulations to Jimbo, our winner. Second half coming up.
Sunset done changed ever since we was on. I dreamed it all. Ever since I was young, they said I won't be nothing. Now they always say congratulations. Worked so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication. People hating, say we changing, look, we made it. Yeah, we made it. They was never friendly, yeah. Now I'm jumping out of Bentley, yeah. And I know I sound dramatic, yeah. But I knew I had to have it, yeah. For the money, I'm a savage, yeah. I be itching like I had it, yeah. I'm surrounded 20 bags, yeah. But they didn't know me last year, yeah. Everyone wanna act like they important, but all that mean nothing when I saw my door, yeah. Everyone counting on me, drop the ball, yeah. Everything custom like I'm at the bottom, yeah, yeah. If you winning, would you light it to the sky? How could I make sense when I got millions on my mind? Coming with it, I just put it to the side. Bought a sense of baby, they could see it in my eyes. My mama called, see you on TV. Sunset done changed ever since we was on. I dreamed it all. Ever since I was young, they said I won't be nothing. Now they always say congratulations. Worked so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication. People hating, say we changing, look, we made it. Yeah, we made it. I was patient, yeah. Oh, I was patient. Now I can scream that we made it. Now everywhere I go, they say congratulations. Young graduation. I pick up the rock and I ball, baby. I'm looking for someone to call, baby. But right now I got a situation. Never old Ben Franklin. Big rings, champagne. My life is like a ball game, but instead I'm in a trap though. Pot so big, call it Super Bowl. Super Bowl, caught up, get in the rolls.
And we're back for the start of second half action between the Spirits of Salem College and your Knights of Southern Virginia University. The Knights went into halftime with a lead of 40-21. As we mentioned before, dominating the first quarter, scoring 25 points. In the second quarter, it cooled down a little bit. Salem College made things a little more interesting, and they scored 15 points in that second quarter compared to the Spirits' 12. Once again, I'm Dawson Weidrich alongside Quinn Meyer. And Quinn, you and I were talking during the break that Southern Virginia is doing a lot of the things you need to be doing right with as far as rebounds and taking care of the ball. The main thing that really served them well was just getting down the floor.
Yeah, you know, you could see when they were able to get down the floor quickly, you know, they had some space open up, and Emma Camden, for example, had 3 or 4 buckets, it seemed like, you know, in all alone by herself. And that's because really good rebounding, really good court vision turned into those free points. But when they weren't able to escape that trap, that's when they had a little bit of difficulty. But yeah. I suspect they'll be able to adjust, you know, quite nicely and be able to avoid that, because you saw how aggressive Salem was being. They had 4 players on this side of the court, you know, 5, 6, or 7 seconds after they secured the rebound. So if they're able to get away from those traps on their own end, then, you know, they'll be able to coast to one here.
Absolutely. The Knights right now leading in the rebounding battle, 28-14 over the Spirits. And you talk about how aggressive Salem College is playing in that second quarter. That has resulted in one of their leading scorers in a little bit of foul trouble. Sampson with 3 fouls going into the half.
She does. She will have to be a bit careful. You saw when she came back in the game, which was good to see after she got the wind knocked out of her. You know, she was pretty aggressive. You know, went for steals a lot there and was part of those big traps by Salem at the end of the second quarter. But with 3 fouls, she'll have to be a bit careful. Wouldn't be surprised if, you know, she either hadn't started this half or towards the end of the third quarter, you know, they might sit her out for a little bit.
And starters for both squads are on the floor to start the second half, and the Knights will start with the ball.
And as well as they've been shooting from the field, 18 for 39, 46%. You mentioned Dawson, free throw shooting has not, you know, been good at all. Just 1 for 7 from the free throw line in the first half of the Knights.
Yeah, just 14% from the charity stripe. That missed 3 for Norton. She's knocked down 1 so far tonight. I believe she's 1 for 5 from behind the three-point line. And driving in, that time no good and recovered by Lee. So the Spirits get a second chance here. And taken away, here's Norton with it. She got 7 on the other side and wisely decides to take it out. They did not have numbers. Here's Heggie coming down the floor off the glass. Great patience from Norton.
Good look by Norton to go out wide and finally cutting Heggie. Really nice play there on the break.
So the Knights able to start off strong. Offensively, Savun with the steal. She's open for the layup, up and good.
Yeah, and Sampson's not going to challenge that with the 3 fouls.
That's a good point. She was right there, but if she swung down at all, the whistle is going to be blown in a heartbeat. A deep 3, and that's good for Lee. That is the first made three-pointer for the Spirits all night long, and that could have been from NBA range.
And I think they only attempted, what, 2 or 3 threes the entire first half, so not their bread and butter, but they did need a 3 to get themselves back in this.
Here's Heggie for 3, trying to respond with one of her own. Going to call foul on the floor. I believe they're calling it on Snyder. They're going to say that she went down low and pushed for the rebound.
Yeah, I was surprised they, blew the whistle at all. I was surprised at first when I thought they were going to call it on the Spirits. But at the same time, it didn't see too much push from Snyder there.
It almost just seemed like she was just trying to fight for position on a rebound, which you have every right to do.
Considering how physical it was in the first half, yeah, that's not a call you'd expect to see.
And swatted away by Foster, advanced ahead to Norton. In the corner to Snyder, here's her for 3, and that's good for the Knights. Snyder knocks it down from the quarter, and the Knights continue their strong start offensively. Baseline drive for Sampson, no good. Sampson doing a good job of saving it from going out of bounds. Here's the mid-range jumper, no good, recovered by Foster.
Nice job, though, by the Spirits crossing the boards. That's the second offensive rebound they've had in the first couple of minutes here.
Snyder for 3, that one good. Good awareness by Savun, realizing that Snyder was unguarded coming down the floor, just tossed it back behind her. So back-to-back threes for the sophomore.
Nice to see this first unit getting going offensively, especially Abby Schneider. Last game, obviously, against Methodist, didn't have much going to her. But also the last home game, I forget who the opponent was, but I don't think she scored until the fourth quarter.
Right.
So nice to see a little explosion there offensively from Schneider.
And also, this starting unit started the second quarter and really didn't get a whole lot going at all offensively, only with 3 points before a whole other unit came in to replace them.
Yep.
So like you said, them getting in a flow shooting-wise, also defensively getting a couple of steals is good to see. Norton defending Bass. Another foul is called here. That's back-to-back fouls called on Norton. Maybe a slight extra step by Bass on that dribble drive.
Her third.
It's actually called on. And it is Norton, and that is her third foul. So Norton in a bit of foul trouble. Sampson trying to cross court to Bass. Pass is too high, and it'll go back to the Knights of Southern Virginia.
Yeah, we've seen both squads go for that, cross-court pass, which traditionally we know is very dangerous.
Yeah.
It worked for the Knights a couple of times, but don't think that either coaches advise it too much.
Heggie takes a dribble for 3 from the corner, no good, rebounded by Norton. Heggie gets it to Norton in the corner, feeding inside to Foster. It's been a rare pass to the inside type of night for Southern Virginia. Knights able to get it right back off the turnover. Savun kicks it back out to Norton, who takes a contested 3, and that is just short. And sometimes for shooters like Norton, who again is one of the more consistent three-point shooters for this Knights squad, you just have some of those nights where things just aren't feeling quite right.
Yeah, that's right. Others are feeling a little better shooting the ball, but there have been times also during the season where, she's the one on the team that's had the hot hand.
Yeah.
But, ultimately, if there's one thing you want to have going your way heading into postseason play, it's, shooting from the outside. We've seen so many teams at any level who have been struggling from the outside, and it's really burned them, especially in today's game, how they've kind of transitioned from, less of an inside presence, to more outside shooting as a big importance. So that'll be important for them to get heated up into postseason play from outside.
Absolutely, and a whole platoon swap for Southern Virginia going with their second unit that did so well in that first half. Dribble drive here for Sampson, no good. Recovered by Newman. Along with Newman is Kempler, Camden, Miyazaki, and Weiland, who is trying to help Newman with the ball.
Yeah, Sampson not losing any aggressiveness despite having 3 fouls early in the second half.
And
nice
good
pass.
feed inside. No good. Weiland with the rebound. Triple teamed. Good pass to Newman for 3. No good. Rebounded by Kempler. Pass
Nice
inside
pass
to
again.
Camden.
And 2 great passes from Kempler.
Absolutely. And the whole team doing a great job at recovering, getting offensive rebounds, getting extra shots, and able to knock it down at the end of the day. And that's going to go out off the knee of Elia Korpening. Got some substitutions for the Spirits as well, with Isabella Childs and Christina Battistini. Now, one thing I failed to mention is that the Knights went in halftime having scored 40 points. That's 2 more than they scored in the entire game against Methodist. I know we've talked about the game a lot, but when you're comparing games like these, you kind of have to.
Well, the crazy thing is they had 39 shots from the field attempted going into half. That's just 4 less than the entire game against Methodist.
Good feed inside once again by Kempler to Newman. Kempler showing her basketball IQ. Yeah, again, just a night and day difference from what we're seeing comparing those 2 recent games. For Southern Virginia, here is a deep mid-range shot, that time good for Sampson. Literally just inside the 3-point line, passing it up ahead to Newman is going to be just a little too high. It'll go back to the Spirits.
Yeah, that's that second pass I think that the Spirits have been missing through most of their offensive possession. So nice to see them execute on that one with Sampson.
And Southern Virginia right now in the third quarter has scored 14 points. They scored 15 total in that second quarter before the break. So again, we have a first quarter of 25, second quarter things slow a little bit down. Third quarter, things starting very, very fast for the Knights, and maybe the pattern will continue in the fourth.
Yeah, it's been up and down, but you know, I think generally their play's been pretty consistent, even if the scoring, the pace has been up and down. But it'll be interesting to see, you know, what we get from the Spirits defensively, especially here in the second half of this third quarter. Maybe they weren't as aggressive defensively to stay out of foul trouble to begin the second half. But now that, you know, we're getting in under 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, maybe they'll start their full court press again we saw in that last possession and see how that affects the Knights offensively.
Because there were, like you mentioned, there were several plays where that was very effective. It got Southern Virginia rattled and forced some turnovers. It got to where they had more than twice as many turnovers in the second quarter as they did the first, just because of that pressure alone. And so the Knights will be defending right now. I want to once again remind you, you're watching this on Knights Broadcasting here on YouTube. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe, comment down below your highlight of the game so far and ways we can improve this viewing presentation of Southern Virginia athletics. We appreciate your support. I want to also remind you, this is the first of a doubleheader here tonight. We have the women's game here against the Spirits, and then following this, we'll have the men's Southern Virginia team facing off against the Fighting Squirrels of Mary Baldwin. The Spirits with the ball. Weiland diving on the floor, recovering it, gets it to Newman. There's Kempler passing ahead to Miyazaki. Not able to knock that down, but like you said, Camden able to recover it. Inside to Kempler. Good no-look pass to Newman. Camden for 3. Back to him, no good. Rebound by Kempler.
Great passing.
Camden driving baseline, going up and gets fouled. I mean, Kempler, when it comes to rebounding and assists right now, and just passing in general, has been fantastic this quarter.
Yeah, no hesitation to her game. She's reading the plays well. Yeah, really quality playmaking by Ruth Kempler. And then, you know, again, crashing the boards. There's 2 more consecutive offensive rebounds, which is really going to go in the advantage of the Knights in terms of, you know, wearing the defense down of the Spirits. But again, you know, free throws, they gotta get that going here in the second half.
They are now 1 for 8 from the charity stripe. Here's a second free throw, and that is good. Make them 2 for 9.
And sneaky Emma Camden's your leader in scoring for the Knights so far, I think with 11, if I'm not mistaken.
Here's the Spirits. Jump shot blocked by Kempler once again. Passing it ahead to Camden. It's a one-on-one, but pass ahead to Newman. Great look up and no good once again. Multiple missed layups for the Knights.
Yeah, the iron hasn't been too kind in many occasions here, especially in the second half for Addie Newman, and then I think Taylor Miyazaki on that last possession.
If they're able to knock down some of these layups, whether it be lightly contested or no, the Knights would easily be at 60 points right now or more.
Yep.
Some substitutions for the Spirits, including Dion Sampson, as well as Lily Gorham, along with number 7, Dashina Hopkins. First time seeing her on the floor.
I thought they'd keep Sampson out a little bit longer than they did. Still 3.5 minutes to go in the third.
Passing ahead to Newman. Wisely pulls back, passes it inside to Miyazaki. Up off the glass and in. Going underneath the defender's arm for that one. Spirits looking to work quick now. Sampson going in. Floater over top of Kempler, rebounded by Miyazaki. One-arm pass to Kempler. And she gets fouled on the shot. She'll go to the free throw line.
Again, really nice and quick transition by the Knights, not allowing the Spirits to get into their full court press. They haven't been able to apply that, or at least they haven't chosen to apply that in the last few minutes. That frees up some space for Ruth Kempler to get down the court, and a really nice pass there.
First free throw for Kempler, no good. The Knights 2 for 10 from the free throw line. We'll have another platoon swap here for the Knights here in just a moment.
Better to get these free throw misses out of their system than
Yes.
on another night, you know, especially 3 weeks from now.
Exactly, as you've alluded to before, you know, conference tournament play, the first round is on February 20th on a Tuesday, so that's coming up really quickly. And so, like you said, if you're going to struggle with free throws, might as well let it be right now in a game where you're winning by a wide margin and free throws aren't mattering as much. That three up, no good. Rebounded that time by Tiara Lee. Clater's going to be called for reach in there. Clater's a part of this platoon swap I had previously mentioned, alongside Haley Page, Cassia Conqua, Lily Kentner, as well as Madison Staples. Got another substitution for the Spirits in number 5, Nikira Engel. Engel has 7 points on the game. And we'll see a substitution here in a moment of number 2, Aliyah Korpening.
And meanwhile, the Spirits, they're 7 for 8 from the line, shooting right at 88%.
And knocks it down once again, and just stark contrasts right now for these two squads as far as shooting the free throws is concerned. In fact, you can't get much more opposite, actually.
Yeah, field goal percentage to free throw percentage, you know, the Spirit shooting 22% right now, Knights at 45%, but as you said, complete opposite in terms of free throws right now.
The second one is knocked down, making it a 30-point game. Here's a Conqua. The Knights taking their time, breaking the press.
Again, 4 Spirits on this side of the court. Knights able to break it, though, nicely.
Here's Kentner bringing it back up top to Staples. Kentner, the deep three, off the front of the rim, no good. Eventually recovered by Page. Trying to go up strong, no whistle is blown on that shot, even though her arms are completely barred down. There were a couple plays in that possession that you could easily justify calling a foul. Sampson, mid-range jumper up, no good, rebounded by Conqua. Advancing it ahead to Page, who's wide open for the layup, up and in. Here's a three. Off the front of the rim, no good, rebounded by Page.
Yeah, again, three-point shooting not really part of their game, but they've started to attempt them more and more here in the second half, which they've had the looks. You know, they haven't been bad shots. They just haven't been able to knock enough of them down.
The ball flies out of bounds, but it was last touched by Sampson. We got a substitution here once again for the Spirits in number 12, Anaya Noel. Inbounded to Staples. Nice pass to Page. Up strong over the defender, rattles in. Back-to-back buckets for Page. And Madison Staples doing a good job of holding her own against the leading scorer on the season for the Spirits.
Yep.
We've mentioned Sampson's quickness on the defensive side.
Foul called on Page.
And Page is whistled for the foul on that play. And it'll send Noel to the free throw line.
Noel to the line, shooting 2.
Hey, Maddie, you take the ball.
First one is up and good. Make the Spirits 10 for 11. Second one is up and good. 11 for 12. Passing across to Kentner.
We've seen a nice ball handling ability of Kentner. It's really important against teams that are utilizing that press.
Under a minute to go now, trying to feed it inside to Page. Wide open, gets position as we saw Corpening fall to the floor, maybe getting tripped up there.
Yeah, Page caught a little bit of a break there when Corpening went down. Easy bucket, but nice feed to the inside by Clater.
And another takeaway for the Knights. Okonkwo battling against Hopkins and gets fouled. Trying to go down the sideline. She had, I believe, Kentner going down the middle of the floor wide open, but Okonkwo was just trying to fight for her life and fight for possession of the ball.
Yeah, and there's the moments where you want to be a little more disciplined after you've approached the ball handler first, then missed. It's pretty often, pretty common they're going to call that second attempt to steal it.
Okonkwo, reverse layup, no good. Rebounded by Kentner. Staples going to go up and under, no good. Rebounded by Page. I call a foul here, I believe, on Page. Maybe they're going to say over the back. So that's her second foul. 13.8 seconds left in the third quarter. And with that foul, the Spirits will go to the free throw line. We'll see who is shooting. I believe it'll be number 10, Tiara Lee.
Lee to the line, shooting 2.
Lee has 3 points in the ball game. First free throw is up and good.
Dawson, it's amazing how much, and not with this game, but how much free throws can swing a game, especially close ones.
Yeah.
Remember, I was watching the Duke and North Carolina game the other weekend. It was a 9-point deficit. Nice steal.
And Staples coming down, trying to swat it away, but they're going to say that she fouled with her arm underneath, making contact. She hadn't done that, she would have had an emphatic swat out of bounds. As that will send Corpening to the free throw line, and like you said, Corpening with a great anticipation there, getting that steal. Knights getting a little careless with the ball. First free throw for Corpening is good.
But as I was saying, free throws are just so important in that Duke North Carolina game I mentioned. The winning. North Carolina won by 9 points, and they shot 13 free throws more, and made 9 more free throws than Duke.
Loose ball there, diving for it was Haley Page. As time expired here in the third quarter, the Knights able to have another good quarter, scoring 24. And kind of go back to your point, like we preach all the time here on Knights Broadcasting, free throws, free throws, free throws. They make a difference. There's a reason why our coaches ask you to practice them for about 20 or so minutes in practice. Just continue to try and get better and better and more consistent at free throws, because they do matter. I mean, in this game, obviously, a lot of the things are going the Knights' way to where free throws aren't as much of a factor. But if you're a coach, you're kind of looking, the Knights, are 3 of 11.
Yep.
That's 8 free throws. That could have put you in the 70s scoring-wise, which isn't necessarily important when you're winning by 30. But that's still something that you're going to look at as both a coach, and you should look at as a player. And during this break, between quarters, going into quarter number 4, I want to give another shout-out to our athletic partners here at Southern Virginia. We got River Crossing Apartments, Straws Drinks and Eats, Mill Creek Orthodontics, Cornerstone Bank, Papa John's, locally owned and operated, Vinyl Cuts, Katana Sushi and Hibachi Express, The Beef, Sweet Souvenirs, and Grace Automotive. Thank you so much for your support of Southern Virginia Athletics. We'll see the starters for the Knights come back onto the floor. The first time they've seen the floor since the early goings of the second half. One of the leaders in scoring tonight is Abby Snyder, who is on the floor along with Maria Savoon with 7 points. Good takeaway there by Norton. Pass inside to Heggie, wide open, nice floater off the glass and in.
Yeah, that's the second fast break that Cam Norton has handled really well and found the open person cutting to the basket.
In spite of, I believe Sampson coming up behind her trying to get the takeaway, was in great position to do so. Another takeaway. Advanced ahead to Savoon. One-on-one, going up, getting the contact, and drawing the foul. Foul is called on number 5, Akira Engel. So it'll send Savoon to the free throw line.
Shooting 2.
Here's the first free throw. Off the back of the rim and no good. Again, with free throws, it feels like the rim's just closed tonight for the Knights.
Yeah. When, Salem not in too much trouble in terms of fouls. Just Sampson with 3, and, well, Engel does now have 4, so she's going to have to come out, I believe. But expect Salem to stay on the aggressive side of things, especially since the Knights, it's not been their night from the free throw line.
Only making their 4th free throw out of 13 attempts tonight. Whereas you look, again, we talk about the free throw percentage for Salem right now, 93.8. About as good as you can expect.
Pretty much.
Spirits working the outside. Baseline floater there, no good. Too strong. Heggie passing down the floor, trying to split defenders, getting it to Savoon. Luckily lands in the hands of Norton. Ill-advised pass there, but just a little low, so Salem College could not recover it.
Man, every single defensive rebound, they're just running the floor. You could see Savin, she was asking for it. Pass was just a bit too late.
Foster got her own rebound, and Savoon for 3 knocks it down. Knights make their 6th three-pointer of the night. They're 6 for 25. Some more good defense there from Savoon. Here's the outside 3. That's no good, rebounded by Snyder. Advanced ahead to Savoon. Going up with a shot, no good, gets fouled. And we saw Norton cutting to the corner. Maybe she's expecting for Savoon to try to pass it outside for a fast break three-pointer. I think Coach Froder was basically telling her, like, well, you got to go on the other side of the box, make it an easier pass for Savoon.
Well, and she just told Norton that, you can make layups too. Not every field goal attempt has to be a three-pointer, which I think has been the case for her today. But that naturally as a shooter, tend to gravitate towards the corner, I feel like.
Oh, that's absolutely a true thing. As someone who, that was my specialty in high school, that was the thing, is that you have a tendency to just run to the three-point line and be at your spot.
And if you're playing, pick up with your buddies or anybody, if there's a 2-on-1 break,
you can play around with it.
Especially these days, someone's cutting to the corner, it seems like.
Savoon able to knock down both free throws. The first time the Knights have gone 2 for 2 on the night from the charity stripe. Snyder gets a takeaway. Advancing it ahead to Norton. Mid-range jumper, just short. Snyder able to get it away, but there's a foul called on the floor. I believe it is called on Snyder. Indeed, it will be. That is her second. And Norton as I like to point out, was in that sort of no man's land where it's just in front of the three-point line where no one really shoots from, so your muscle memory is not quite there in comparison to shooting from the elbow or shooting from the three-point line. It just makes it a more difficult shot. Good defense from Foster, knocks it away. Snyder with the recovery. Pass to Heggie for three. That's just a little too strong. Savin with the rebound. Feed inside
Nice
to
cut.
Heggie.
Nice cut.
Heggie gets a little redemption, knocking it down for two.
And turnovers are pretty even going into this fourth quarter, but you can tell the Spirits are pretty out of sync right now.
And a shot is short there. Savoon, fast break. Going to the other side, no good. That time rebounded by Childs.
It seems like, almost every other drive at least, there's been a turnover for the Spirits offensively.
The three, no good that time for Noel. Feeding it inside to Foster. Going inside, up with the left hand, up and in with the and one. And we see a whole platoon swap coming in for Southern Virginia, but I'm genuinely surprised to see how long they've let the starter stay in for Southern Virginia.
Yeah.
Really wanting them to play and get more into a rhythm before, the rest of the bench kind of comes in and finishes off the game. Because, it kind of goes back to the whole, they were on a 12-game win streak. Most games, they weren't playing the starters most of the fourth quarter because they're winning by double digits or 20 or so points. And so maybe there's a mentality of, well, maybe we want to make sure that our starters are used to playing almost an entire game, especially when you come into conference tournament time against teams that are going to push you and challenge you. Here's Foster for the and one free throw. And that free throw is good. And coming in for Foster will be Kempler.
And I think it'll be important. It'll be super key for the Knights, as we get into postseason play. And eventually, it seems inevitable that they'll face Methodist either for the championship or at some point on the road to the conference title. But Asia Foster will be an important piece. Nice swat.
No hesitation on the swat there from Kempler.
But as I was saying, Methodist is so good at preventing shot attempts. Only 43 shot attempts in Fayetteville for the Knights on Saturday. Someone like Asia Foster, who's super efficient from the field, will be an important part in taking down a really solid defense that Methodist has.
That's absolutely a solid point there as the Knights looking to continue to score.
Nice pass.
Great cut from Newman, and like you said, great delivery from Weiland. And you mentioned before, I believe it was in the second quarter, how Weiland does a great job just anticipating how the play is going to develop. Perfect example right there. And a timeout called by Coach Boyd and Salem College with 5 minutes and 49 seconds remaining in this one. The Knights 1 point away from breaking 80. And we've talked about how Southern Virginia likes to score 90-plus on road games, but they haven't done so here so far. But maybe we'll see a little bit more of that tonight, as again we have a timeout here. I want to once again remind you that you're watching this on Knights Broadcasting here on YouTube. This is the first game of a doubleheader tonight, as I mentioned before. Men's basketball will be playing against the Fighting Squirrels of Mary Baldwin after this contest is completed, or about 30 minutes or so after this contest is completed. So be sure to stick around if you want to see some more fantastic basketball here tonight. And again, right now, not much more you can say except for the fact that Southern Virginia on most facets of the game has just done a great job at, delivering, playing as a team, I think is the big thing, and holding the Spirits scoreless so far in this fourth quarter.
Yeah, defense has been very solid, as we were talking about earlier. It seems like every other possession for the Spirits has ended up in a turnover. And again, the Knights are just, running the break, looking for those outlet passes right as they get those rebounds. But then back to what we were talking about those set plays and a nice feed from Allie Weiland to Addie Newman, I believe it was. That goes both ways. Not only is it good pass, good playmaking ability by Weiland, knowing your sets, but really nice cut by Addie Newman to find that right angle so that she doesn't cut too far under the basket, but giving herself room to finish nicely.
And being as wide open as she was, there was no one there to contest that shot. It's inbounding here, and a foul is called here on Newman. So it'll stay with the Spirits. That is Newman's second foul. And, you know, after the second quarter, we talked about how aggressive it got at a certain point. The refs haven't really over-adjusted like I may have suspected they would. They've done a good job being consistent. And Weiland coming in there with a steal. Driving in, up the right hand, off the glass, no good. And last touched out of bounds. And it was a pretty easy call there, but out on Tierra Lee.
Well, it seems like the game's kind of naturally calmed down, but you know, it's interesting because it seemed like that was favoring the Spirits at least a little bit, and it was able to make it a little bit more even, using that full court press and physicality. But since then, it's been all Knights, and the Spirits have really kind of seems like drifted away from their game plan.
Camden dribbling baseline. There's Weiland, and blocked that time by Gorham. And we saw a substitution for the Spirits in number 3, Natasha Guo, senior guard from Statesville, North Carolina. She has the ball now. Weiland able to get the easy steal after the good defense from Kempler. Miyazaki passing inside to Camden, wide open. Camden, once again, showing her ability to get to the rim, make good cuts down the floor.
I think I could see Coach Brett Schroeder saying, you know, bounce pass right there, but it worked out, so it's all right.
That three just a little short, rebounded by Kempler. Here's Camden. And block. And they're going to count the basket. Camden continuing to have a fantastic night scoring-wise. The foul will be called on Lee. We got another substitution here with number 2, Elia Korpening. And immediate timeout as Camden now at 15 points in the game, just ahead of Savoon, who has 13, was just ahead of Snyder with 9 and Weiland with 9. And again, it really has felt like it's been, scoring-wise, Camden's night. She's done a great job of just running the floor, getting open, knocking down the layups, because, I mean, if I'm being honest with you, knocking down a fast break layup it's harder than it looks. You can get in your head a little bit, but Camden did a great job of finishing at the rim and basically giving her team a big lift scoring-wise.
And it seems like she's really, especially this season, kind of simplified her game. You know, searching for those good spots behind the defense. Obviously, on the fast break, she scored about 8 of her points in that way with those open layups. But you know, in years past, she tends to float back towards the three-point line, where she's pretty hot and cold. But this year, you know, she's been driving to the basket, and really, you can tell she worked on her finishing ability in the offseason, I'm sure. And that's why she's been so effective and so efficient for the Knights finishing this season.
Taking advantage of the athletic ability that she has. She's fast, she's quick, she can get to the rim. And so recognizing that, because again, having a three-point shot in your arsenal is always a good thing, but also be sure to rely on your abilities that make you more of an X factor compared to everybody else who's, you know, just simply shooting threes, because that's the big thing right now.
And when she's in tight, you know, you typically think that when she's being that heavily guarded, you know, it's 50-50 that it might go in. You expect it to go in now. You know, it's going in 90-95% of the time.
That free throw is good for Camden. The Knights are going to pull everybody away.
I was looking away. I didn't quite see what happened there.
So it was an and one because they counted the basket.
Yes.
And so people acted like it was 2 free throws.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that was
just a bit of confusion after the timeout here. But the Spirits will have it after the made free throw from Camden. And that free throw gives her 16 in the game. Bass for 3. Off the back of the rim, no good. Rebounded by Kempler. Weiland pass to the outside of Miyazaki, driving baseline. Good kick out to Kempler. Good pump fake. Goes up, draws the foul. That'll be called to number 14, Lily Gorham, on the way down.
And a quiet but nice bounce back game from Ruth Kempler. You know, she hasn't been on the score sheet as much as, you know, you might think as she was earlier in the season. But again, we mentioned her playmaking ability. Really nice rebounding night. And she's been a really efficient player for the Knights on both ends of the floor.
Like you mentioned, Kempler with 8 rebounds in the game, able to knock down that first free throw. Here's the second, and that is good. The Knights slowly starting to even out free throw shooting wise. It was very rough there for a bit. Still not pretty numbers like you'd want to see, but 50% is better than 12% like it was earlier.
Very much so.
So here's the Spirits. And that's blocked by Miyazaki. Advanced ahead to Camden. Bounce pass to Newman. Going back to what you're saying, Coach Brett Schroeder was saying, you know, bounce past that, and that's exactly what they did. 2 points away now from 90. The Spirits taking their time. Here's the mid-range jumper, no good. Weiland able to recover that one. Another deep pass, this time to Kempler. Good bounce pass to Camden, going up strong, draws the foul, and she'll shoot 2. And once again, we got a whole new 5 coming on for the Knights. We got Haley Page, Maddie Staples, Anna Clater, and Lily Kentner will check in. And we'll, of course, have Cassia Okonkwo check in for Camden after the free throws.
And another thing I've really liked from the Knights when they're, you know, getting these nice lanes to the basket, they've been able to grab that inside position on the defender, which is why they're drawing so many fouls as of late here in the fourth quarter. And that just seems like it's half the battle when you're driving to the basket. What position do you get on that defender to draw that foul?
That's a good point. Camden able to knock down both free throws, and she will end her night with 18 points, leading both squads by a wide margin, and the Knights reached 90 points, now leading 90-34. Knocked away by Okonkwo. Going up against 2 defenders. Pump fake up with the left hand, no good. Rebounded by Kentner. Wisely dribbles it back out. And it's knocked out of her hand and recovered by Guo. Driving in off the glass, able to knock it down. That time is Sampson. Sampson, the first Spirit to reach double digits in scoring. And that gives Kentner her 3rd foul of the game.
Shooting 1.
And the N1 free throw is no good, rebounded by Page. Page deciding to drive it in and then kick out to Okonkwo. They call travel an extra step after the jump stop. But a good idea nonetheless. Okonkwo was wide open at the top of the key for a 3. Just under 3 minutes to go now. Staples trying to go in there and get the steal against Guo. And it'll be out of bounds as Sampson was trying to recover the pass.
Yeah, it seems like in this fourth quarter that the Spirits have, you know, been forcing things a little bit too much and trying to put balls where they probably typically wouldn't make it. And that's what's created so many turnovers.
Okonkwo doing a good job battling for the ball, but it's eventually recovered by Lee. Lee stepping through off the glass and a charge. She was running in there wild on that dribble drive. Just trying to get anything out of that possession.
Yeah, I think some of us forget sometimes how courageous you have to be to stand in there and get set against an offensive player who's coming full steam ahead.
Pass is too high for Okonkwo, so another this time somewhat of a forced turnover for Southern Virginia with the press from the Spirits. A floater for Sampson up, no good, and draws a foul. It'll be called on Staples.
Sampson to the line, shooting.
Sampson will shoot 2 with just over 2 minutes remaining in this one. First free throw rattles in, good. Here comes the second. And that one is no good, rebounded by Page. Knocked out of her hand, she has to dive down to get it. Jump ball, it'll stay with the Knights. So once again, we'll see some full court pressure here.
And I was going to say I was surprised to see them not applying it as much in the second half, but I really think it's just because, you know, the Knights have been so quick transitioning that it hasn't allowed Salem that opportunity to use their full court press.
And Haley Page going up strong, draws the foul, and she'll go to the line and shoot one. And you know, talk about that, like, usually when a team applies press, it's when they've made a basket and they have a chance to get back. They've only scored 3 points in this quarter, and pretty certain all of those are free throws.
Yeah, they've been forcing shots a little bit more than in the previous 3 quarters, and that's how, you know, the Knights are able to transition so quickly off the rebounds and just send their teammate on a breakaway. So yes, Salem, they had a really good game plan those first 3 quarters, but haven't been able to execute it very well in this final quarter.
Yeah, the N1 free throw is no good. The Spirits quickly came back trying to have a fast break, and a foul is called on Sampson. That is her 5th, and she'll be done for the night. And so she will need a substitute.
Jocelyn Stewart checking in for the Knights.
We'll see Jocelyn Stewart come in for Southern Virginia. And coming in for Sampson will be number 2, Elia Korpening. Korpening has 6 points in the game, one of the leaders in scoring for the Spirits. Clater's first free throw is off the side of the rim, no good. Second free throw up and rattles out, no good. Stewart nearly there to get the rebound, but the Spirits come away with it. Korpening working against Okonkwo. Here's a 3. That's no good. Rebounded by Page. Trying to advance it ahead to Stewart. She immediately turns to Coach Lynette Schroeder and says, "Sorry, Coach."
Yeah, you could tell she wanted to get that one to Jocelyn Stewart really badly, but just slipped it out of her hand. Got a little too excited there.
Got the entire bench here on this near side to chuckle a little bit because it was said so loudly.
Yeah, it was that perfect moment when everything else was silent, it seemed like.
And Haley Page recovers from that by drawing a charge there. And so it'll go back to Southern Virginia.
Haley, you need to stack it, Haley. Haley, start bringing it.
Page helps out and is knocked out of her hands, goes out of bounds. It'll stay with the Knights. Get it inbound to Okonkwo. 40 seconds left in the game. Pass inside to Page. She'll go up strong with the right hand, up off the front of the rim, no good, knocked out of bounds. And looks like it'll stay with the Knights. About 10 seconds separating the shot and game clock. Pass inside to Page,
Nice
open.
feed.
Brings the Knights to 94.
Cassie Okonkwo was another player we talked a lot about early in the season that they were missing. And she'll be another important role player down the stretch for the Knights.
Absolutely, as the Spirits are just going to be content to let this clock wind down. As there'll be another victory for Southern Virginia in the USA South Conference. They will advance to 17-5 overall in the year and 15-1 in conference play. And again, we talked about a team needing to recover after a tough loss. I mean, this is a way to do it.
It is. Yeah, really solid execution all around. You know, they're aggressive, hungry for the ball. You know, a lot of loose ball battles in the first half specifically when kind of had the height of physicality in the game. And not many hiccups really, except for, you know, free throw shooting and a slow start shooting from outside. But all around, again, great confidence boost after a tough loss to Methodist. that should get the mojo going back in their favor.
Absolutely. And the Spirits fall to 8-14 on the year and 4-11 in conference play. The Knights will be back in action here in the barn on Saturday, February 10th against North Carolina Wesleyan. That'll be at 3 p.m. So be sure to tune in to Knights Broadcasting for that contest. But once again, reminding you, we have a men's basketball matchup coming up in just a little bit against the Fighting Squirrels of Mary Baldwin, the #1 team in the USA South Conference in the men's division, in Southern Virginia's men's team looking to have a statement win in USA South play. So be sure to join us for that broadcast here in about half an hour. Thank you so much for joining us for today's contest of the Spirits versus the Knights women's basketball matchup. Once again, I'm Dawson Weidrich. This is Quinn Meyer. We'll see you all if you're staying tuned for men's basketball in just a few moments. But go Knights.